Welcome back to It's a Tool Thing. This cart is as close as I've ever come to actually staying in a tool cart. This was the previous cart that I was using, the last one. It's a Matco. One of the guys in the shop actually has this same cart. It's got a split top lid. I actually have the middle latch removed out of it because using my carry tote inside, the old one that the handle flipped over on top, actually would contact that latch in the middle, but it still stays closed, as you can see, pretty well. It's got a nice large area in it on the top, nice and deep. Still unfortunately has the slide latch in the back. It's actually in the unlocked position. I added that red knob to it. It was just a piece of rubber I had laying around, but they did a pretty good job. It would have been nice if they could have gotten rid of this thing completely and given you that few more inches of space. But I would actually stick sockets up here on rails and then use magnets back there to hold them. I put new drawer liners in. It actually didn't come with any drawer liners. This is actually some pretty good material I got off of Amazon, I believe. You can get on eBay also, but it was a little cheaper on Amazon at the time, so I had somebody order it from me because I don't have a Prime account. And then I made some, it actually had like pressboard top up here, the factory ones, but they were in pretty rough shape, so I made new rubber mats. One of the guys at the shop has this same box. He's got four-wheel steer on his and an extra holder in the back, which I'll show you here in a minute. And I got to say, four-wheel steel for maneuverability in really tight places is the way to go, but this shop is pretty big that I'm in, and four-wheel steer is definitely not necessary, and it's easier to steer a two-wheel steer box or cart. As you can see, when you slide the shelves open, it does take up a fair bit of space, and that's where I came to the realization that I think if you're thinking about going to a cart and you can afford to slide the shelves open like that, that you'd probably be better served by buying a maybe 25-inch deep box, possibly even a skinnier one if you're okay with that, but I always feel like depth is the key. This unit, I don't have it, actually I do have a tape measure right here, I can measure it. It's pretty deep. As you can see, the side shelves, they're pretty deep. They actually hang over the back. Let me make it a little tricky here. The actual top compartment area is it's like about 21 inches outside to outside, and the actual overall is almost 27 inches. And the main part of the box here, excuse my hand, one-handed is not the easiest thing. The main part of the box is about 35 inches on this one. And these do slightly overhang. I'll show you here in a bit. It's interesting. I said this is a Matco cart, and you can get it with either 3 drawers or 6 drawers, the way it's designed. As you can see, the top 3 drawers are the same pattern as the bottom 3 drawers. And I don't think you can actually move around. You may be able to move around within their area, but they're actually, you can buy it with the top 3 drawers in an open area or all 6 drawers. I wish this unit had 7 or 8 drawers and maybe slightly skinnier drawers for the deeper ones. But it's got a nice pull, pretty much full open, pretty close to, not 100%, but pretty good. One thing I didn't know when I first got it, these things, the drawers would slide open on their own, and I ended up finding out that there's adjustments right here for the detent, and they do work pretty good. I don't know, I've heard people say that they can wear out over time, but they were actually on, I think, 0 or whatever, the lowest setting, and they would just slide open, but they've got a nice little click to them now. There's nothing in this box currently. I was just cleaning it out. I had spare bits and bobs in it. I'm going to put it in that Craftsman box that I just did a video on that I used to use in the shop truck. I'm going to take this unit home I've had several guys at the shop that want this cart, but I'm not willing to give it up at this point. Maybe someday. I actually had to travel. I live in southwest Washington, and I had to travel up to Seattle, like downtown Seattle actually, which is a couple-hour drive to get up there to pick this up. I had been looking around for a cart for a while when I was considering trying to switch into a cart again, and I saw this one come up in Seattle and talked to the guy. Sounded like it was in good shape. I didn't realize it didn't have the drawer mats in it or anything, but it was in good shape when I got up there. He had a reasonable price. We talked about it. Got a couple bucks off and picked her up. But as you can see, the drawers are nice access. They've got a nice retention with those locks adjusted. I believe the guy that had this before was Auto Body, was what he did, and it was a box he had laying around. He had for quite some time. But it is a very good box. Like I said, I'm not willing to part with it at this point. I'm actually selling that red one to one of the guys at the shop. Up here is something interesting. I always needed a place to put red rags back in the day when I used red rags. Nowadays, I only use red rags on a rare occasion. But this is actually a 5-gallon bucket that I cut the upper portion off and then cut a nice little slot. And it worked pretty good for grabbing a big handful of rags, keeping them contained. I've had that on several boxes over the years. Now it's just kind of hanging out on this one. I might even take it home. I haven't had it on my current cart. I've got these can holders. They're actually double-sided sticky taped on so they didn't flap around. And then I've got a nice little, like I said, I tend to use the blue shop towels at this point in life. But when you close this doesn't hit or anything. It does stick out slightly proud. That's fully seated there. And it does clear with no issues. One of the other things I found was interesting on this cart, and you can see one here. It's actually designed for you to stick your air tools in here, and apparently that one's not the right size. Never tried it. And it'll hold your air tools there. Unfortunately, our shop doesn't use those 1/4-inch size air chucks or air connectors. We use the 3/8, which didn't fit in there. But if you're not worried about somebody making off with your air tools, or if you're just put them out during the day during work shift, they work pretty good. Also, they give you some extra holes down here to stick things in. They do not correspond to holes up above. Like I said, the other guy I work that has one of these actually has 2 of these shelves. I'm not sure what kind of crack they were smoking when they came up with the hole design on them. I definitely put stuff in them, but it didn't seem to be ideal, such as these holes on the end. They have the same hole, but you can see how far over it goes. If you stuck something in there that actually would need that much space, once you close that lid, you didn't have much room overhang. Like, you couldn't put a hammer in there and it stick through, because when you close the lid, excuse me, it's like I wasn't giving a very good shot, it would end up hitting. Whereas this one did a little better job for hammers. It also has a pegboard rear on the back, and I tried to use that a little bit, pretty unsuccessfully, but I tried nonetheless. I don't know if I can get a shot of this here. It looks like it's a MSC 12 Matco tool cart, made in the USA. It has been a very good cart. I've had it for a couple years now. Another can holder. I actually used to keep my creeper back on this side when it was all set up. This is just a magnetic style. It's the one they used to sell at Lowe's, if I remember correctly. but I don't know if they sell this one anymore. It's Cobalt branded, but it had two USB, excuse me, ports on it, and it's magnetic. So I might just move that on to something else, or I might just leave it on the tool cart for now. And then hang a cord reel right here, and some hand wipes, which are actually out. It also has that same shelf underneath for storing bars and air tools on the other side. Let me close this top up here, give you a few more measurements before I get out of here. So this cart with the lid fully closed, not counting the can holder because you may or may not be running that, is 36 inches overall, and I believe I said, yeah, just a shade under 27 deep. Whereas with it fully extended, see if I can do this without getting it to slide in. Looks like it's about 67 inches long. Of course, the depth didn't change. So this is the closest I've ever came to actually using a tool cart, and it was pretty good. But unfortunately, I do a lot of different things at the shop, and I kept having to go back to my toolbox, and just decided that that I was just going to go back to my big box and move it around, because I kept having to move it anyways. And then I went to that Cornwell box that right now is a little bit of a problem child. Don't get me wrong, I believe it is well built, that Cornwell Platinum Series box, but their slide release system is embarrassingly bad design. They should be ashamed of themselves. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.